Well, welcome to a 7 days video. Something a bit different for me, but it is something I've been playing, so I thought I'd pass on a few tips for you all. For one, we're going to go back to the main menu before starting a game and go to options here, and at the bottom there is player profile. If you didn't know, this is where you can actually choose where your character looks like rather than it being a random thing when you spawn in. And you can use some pre-gen ones, you can create your own as I have, and you can even edit them. And this is the basic options you'll get for the character customization. I'll let you have a play around with that yourselves and see what you think of it. So we'll go back now to making the actual map. I'm just going to have it set at the standard Navezgane. I'm just giving it a standard name, one that's separate from my other games because you can't have two maps of the same style in the same name. It's a standard 60-minute day, 18 hours of which are daytime. Blood moon every 7 days. These are all the standard settings. The one thing I will say at the bottom of here before I forget is zombie feral sense, not the feral speed but feral sense. I'm over there. That will change how far away the zombies detect you from, and it's something that should stop the zombies being stuck basically idling when you're walking into rooms and finding them still in that idle starting position. So it's worth it if you want more of a challenge. This is all your standard stuff, your loot abundance, your damaged blocks, how the enemies are spawning, creative mode, and then daily quest progression limit. Now this is set as standard to 4. That means you can do 4 quests in a day that will contribute towards your next tier quest level. Any more than that they won't count, but you will still get rewards for them. Last bit's multiplayer, that doesn't matter, so we'll jump past. At this point though, I will apologise because where I'm still getting used to all of this, I did mess up when I recorded this video and I forgot to turn off my Discord notifications and my Steam ones, as I didn't think they would be recorded with it, but thanks to Nvidia apparently, yay, pop-ups are recorded at the same time as my gameplay. So I've learnt that now, but apologies again. And more importantly, I forgot to show you the little tips at the bottom of the screen here when you're loading. Go through them, have a look. You'll find some bits that are interesting, some little shortcut keys, all this sort of thing. So, we're in now then, and it's your standard thing of beginning with your challenges. First challenge being open the challenges. If that's not taking the mick a bit, I don't know what is. But anyway, I will get through those. Of course, you've got your standard thing to start off with just collecting the fibres and the wood and all that. And whilst we're going through this video, I will start trying to give a few more tips here and there on things I found, or advice, or just even opinions as to why I do things. For instance, I only need fibre, but I'm harvesting plants here. Well, simple reason is that both goldenrod and chrysanthemum, the red flower, useful for crafting teas later, so if I can keep them until later and put them in a box, then I've got them ready for making teas. If not, then I can throw both of those out and it will give me 2 extra spaces once I've maxed out my backpack with something that I'm not going to miss. And the next bit is obviously, do remember these little wiry looking brush bits that you get 2 wood from, excuse me then, because if you're trying to punch a tree like this, as you can see, it's quite a few whacks before you get anything from it, and then it's one piece. It's not worth your effort. Sometimes though you will get stuck out and you'll need some wood to, for instance, repair your wooden tools or something like that. Of course, the other thing is, if you are later in game and it's just you need a bit of wood quickly, don't forget you can scrap some of your blocks just by splitting them and just scrapping a few, and that'll give you a decent bit of wood back. Okay, so I have the bits to make the stone axe. I will craft that, and then what we will do is we will crack on into speedy mode until I have done the rest of the challenges, and save you from watching me running around the world of Navezgane for the next half an hour. So here we go. I'm going to run through the quests, literally 4 times speed, just to keep this under 20 minutes, and it turned out in the end. As it was in real time, it was only half an hour, so it wasn't too bad, and that's including the start-up and showing you the menus. It can be done a lot faster, obviously, get into a trader if you want to, but hey-ho. So, just one thing to say there is I did just grab the entire block of stone and the entire tree rather than the couple of bits it wanted me to, for the simple fact of you're going to need the stone and the wood. It's peaceful at the moment, why not do it? Now, we've got everything done on the bow, except for getting some feathers to make the arrows, and thankfully it shows us where the nests are, because when you want one, you won't find one. When you don't, you're going to pass dozens of them, and I have got to an addiction where I have to stop for them, because apart from eggs for recipes and everything else, it's something that you're always going to want to keep an eye out for, because 3 eggs is food and feathers is arrows. Anyway, we're now heading off towards the trader. On the way, you've always got this choice of looting a few places. I do like to try and get a couple of these carcasses if I can. The bones I need to actually make a knife. The nitrate you use later on, or you can sell it to the trader in stacks of 10. And the fat's useful for candles and torches, I believe, as well as for food ingredients later on. And the rotten meat is good for crop plots and for recipes later on. Now, this was a level 1. I could have probably gone through there without too much issue, but no. We will search the letterbox, so it's nice and easy. You normally would get a book in there if you're lucky. What I will show you is, if I leave something in there and go out of it, it stays an accessible box. If I take everything out, it shuts down, so you can't use it. Now, you can harvest it as metal, but as you saw there, I got 5 metal for all that effort. And if I go to a car, then basically every 2 hits I do, or every hit almost, I'm getting 1 piece, so it's much quicker. But we're not going to waste our time. We do cars later on with wrenches. Just stick to things like this where you can search a car on the way, search a backpack, the basic things, rather than wasting too much time, because as well, you don't want to be over encumbered, because the more you've got on you, the slower you'll go. So we'll run past this one, carry on going to the trader, just checking the little bits, grabbing a bit of wood here and there. When you are harvesting things like fibres and plants, especially at the beginning, just use your fist. It doesn't hurt you, it doesn't cost anything, and it's worth it. Now, stumps. Stumps are important. They're basically miniature trees in regard to how much wood you get, so that's always a bonus. You don't have to sit there for too long to chop them away. But also, you get a chance of honey. Of course, I didn't get honey on there, because that would have been far too convenient. As you can see, that tree was 1200, and he really won't sit there that long. So, I'm going to run along, get a couple of the zombies to smash, a couple more plants, and do the armor that we didn't do earlier. For it tells you to make the outfit. It doesn't tell you to make a hood, a gloves, or shoes, which obviously if you're not wearing them, then you're missing armor protection. And with this basic stuff, then there is in fact no penalty to stamina drain, or to the sneak, or to whatever else it was. We'll have a look in a second. I'm just checking through my list. This is where you can find your exact food and water levels and your current, how long you've been alive, all this sort of thing. There you go. So there's no noise increase, no mobility affection debuff, and no stamina debuff. So basically, you just get some armor protection out of it. It's worth it for the basic materials you get, especially early game when you're going to still be weak and your weapons are going to be weak and your stamina's going to be weak. So here we go. I'm just going to craft myself up a knife and craft up some arrows. Same time, these sort of things, if you look at it whilst you're doing them, you will get some XP from it. So it's worth it. Once again, grab some more loot on the way. Try and stick to the path if you can. I wanted to say that it was definite that you get the stamina drain less on a path than running on the grass next to it, but it's not the clearest of things. I feel you do last a bit longer on the path though, so just for safety. And vehicles, it does affect if you're using on the road or off-road. Now, I could have gone to the trader, but I had to stop for a chicken, because chickens are great. If you've got your stamina, you can catch them by running, club them, whatever, and it's free meat and feathers. So, bonus. Another stump, and I know there's a guy behind me over there, but I also know that there is a big biker over here. And this is one thing to remember, is not all zombies are the same. There are different levels. You'll get some levels that are easier, like for instance the crawler I killed, I believe I got 400 XP for. They're a lower level, although they are a pain. And this chap is a higher one, and he does take a bit. I honestly was going to count how many hits this was, but in truth, I don't really care exactly how many it was. It was far too many, especially when you've been playing late game and then you come back to this. Nope, he's still not down. He's still going. It really did take this long. So, yeah, it's something to remember when you see these people, especially when you go into POIs and there's a couple of them. It's great if you're just taking on him. What if you've got one next to you that can run, or one that's getting past, or one that's smacking you whilst you're trying to hit him? Yeah, that's when you get yourself caught out. So be careful and be aware that they really can be this bad, even on day one. However, you've got the chance of a loot bag, and you've got a chance of a higher quality. You get the standard loot bags are yellow, the next ones are blue, which was that, and the highest ones I believe are red, unless they've changed it for this version. I haven't seen any yet, so we'll see. But anyway, jump into the trader. Whilst you're in the trader, of course, you can get your loot goblin on, and everyone does love it, you know, especially vehicles and all this sort of thing. It's not worth it at the moment. If you're wanting to just get your first jobs out of the way, then don't bother. For one, you're going to be carrying more stuff and you're not going to get much value off of him. For two, one of the reasons you're not going to get much value is you're a low game stage and a low loot stage. So when you look in those boxes, it's going to be low loot chances. If you leave it to a higher game stage and look in those boxes, you are more likely to get better quality loot from it. So I don't need it on me at the moment. He's not going to buy it for much. Prime example, one piece of leather. I'm quite alright really. But yeah, if you are going to build your base straight away rather than come back to him though, do go and find things like workbenches and cement mixers, the workstations, because you've got a chance to find the forge that has books in it. But here we are with Rhett, and he's given us a special job first, basically your start one. It's a buried supplies one, so he's even given you the shovel, which for Rhett is very unusual for him to be generous. Anyway, I'm going to try and sell a few bits, and as I said here, you can see that things that are basic resources, normally lead, brass, iron, that sort of thing, you won't buy in stacks underneath 10s. Anyway, I'm going to speed it up again on the way over here, because why not? One tip there is, if he'd come towards the gates, then I could have shot him through the chain link fence, and he can't break it because the traders are protected. But he didn't, and I got bored of waiting. Now we're going to run down, we get to the quest, and I will give you a little tip here from Guns, Nerds and Steel, which is a YouTube channel that is worth checking out if you want some very detailed science of 7 days. I mean, he does playthroughs, but he proper gets into the statistics and everything of how things work. One thing he pointed out is this idea of when you get a circle for where you've got to dig your treasure out, you put 4 blocks on the 4 points, basically. You can't get it perfect most of the time, but it gives you a gist of where it is. And when you dig the dig the hole out, then the circle decreases in size eventually, and that will give you a hint as to which direction it's going, and therefore where the treasure is going to be. And here's another thing, is the top layer of dirt is always 250. Well, sand. Sorry, not sand. I'll try that again. Top layer of grass is always 250, whereas underneath, where it's just clay, is 200. And so, obviously, that's 1/5 of the hit points less and a lot quicker to get through. So if you can, just dig down and dig around. If you're worried about it, dig down and then use a couple of those blocks that you've made, turn them into ladders, and you can literally just have one path straight down, put some ladders up it, and you can go straight back up that. And it also saves you stamina because you're not jumping up and down to get out of the hole. Now, I am smashing out another 250 bits just so I've got an easy way out. And there's the circle reduced. And as you can see, it's basically stayed in the centre, but I'd say it's a little bit more over this sort of direction, so I'm going to focus on that way. I mean, as it is, this is just the starter quest one. It's not the most difficult. When you get treasure quests later on, then they do become a lot larger, and that's when it really starts to pay dividends to I'm not sure why I use that phrase, sorry. That's why it benefits you to use the blocks, so you can start to keep an eye on where the circle is shrinking to. Anyway, we've got our buried food stash, which was frankly the most anticlimactic stash I've ever opened. And we've got the zombies. Now normally you will find that zombies will spawn with these sort of things. You'll get the ting sort of bell noise when you get to each stage of the radius decreasing, and on later levels that will normally spawn zombies each point of that, as well as once you've taken the stuff out of the food crate. Now, we'll grab the last sort of eggs on the way back there, and get back to the delights of Rekt.
Didn't we agree?
He gives a reward, you can choose one of the pipe weapons, that's your choice. Personally for me, I went for the pipe rifle, because if I went for the machine gun, I'd shoot through my bullets too fast. The shotgun, I hate how long it takes to load, and the pistol, I find, just doesn't have the stopping power. Plus, I can still use a rifle later on for hunting, so it's good to keep. Now, I'm trying to send him off a few more bits, of course. As it is, he won't even buy the fuel off me, because he's a pain in the backside. And so, instead, I'm going back in for some reason. That was it. I'm going to run away. Apart from then, I remember The main reason we've done all that is so we can actually get a quest off of him. And this is one thing I tried to do, is you can put a box outside the trader to keep your stuff in there, and so it's all nice and safe. Or what I tried to do is keep myself not too over encumbered, just enough that I can get to the next jobs, which here's the list. You get buried supplies, you get a fetch, which you just collect a satchel, clear zombies, which clear an area, fetch, clear zombies. And later on you will get clear and fetch, and you'll get some late missions like restore power and infestation missions. But anyway, I've chosen the clear the area, as you normally want to go through the whole area to get to the loot at the end of it anyway, whereas if it's a fetch, then you kind of don't have much point. You can run in and just get a satchel. So yes, I've gone for that one. It's not too far away. This was the closest one he had, and I normally try and do the closest one first, because at that point you're just trying to get through them to start getting some rewards and some cash and such. Now, as it is, when I come up here, we'll come into the next issue that a lot of people have, of double looting, as they call it. Now, as you can see in the top right, this is already the Mushroom Mining Company, and so all of this stuff that I am picking up, not necessarily the rocks, but the loot, has a chance of respawning in the same places. I mean, it's only trash, and it's not much. But obviously, some people will go in, let's say it's a house, and they'll raid through the entire house and then do it again. And people don't like this. It's your choice, okay? Point is, when I go in there, it's going to reset. I'll find a bit of trash. Woohoo. As you can see now, I'm going through this lot with the car and such, but this is actually a different POI, as you can see up at the top. And so I thought I would quickly run through, get some resources. Stacks of wood like that, not this log, but the stack that I chopped before, are one of the best ways to collect your wood. That and like piles of chopped logs. And yes, always remember to check through things. You'll know, get used to seeing things like barbecues and that if they're closed, then they're normally going to have something in. If they're open, it's quite obvious because the lid's off. Go through, get all the bits. Always worth double checking up in cupboards and corners and such. I've seen it before now where they actually had a cupboard that was on the ground, so you couldn't even see the doors in it. It just looked like a double length block, and you had to actually look at it to open it. But anyway, we've got back to the POI here, and I'm completely overloaded. So what I'm going to do is make 2 boxes after I read some of these books, sorry, precious boxes. But of course I've got to read those books so that I can actually have a space to put the boxes. Don't worry, bear with me, we're nearly through it. Now, I'm going to warn you of one thing, and apologies for my dog having a nightmare. If you put one down in a POI before you engage a quest, then it's going to be bad. Do not do it. I did it with a friend on the server. I was unloading some stuff, started my quest, and we lost it, okay? So, not good. I will load back in, and because I'm going to jump off in just a second once we've taken care of dear old Bo here and his knobbly knees. But when I come back in, I will put something in there, and I will start the quest to show you that it will actually be destroyed. And then I'll place down the second one that I made, and I'll put my stuff in there so I'm not going around the POI encumbered. So anyway, I hope you've bared with me to the end here, and I hope you've learnt something. And in the next video, we'll be going through the POI, hopefully getting it back to Trader Rekt, and then I think we'll probably set up a base around this area, at least leave the stuff here for now. We'll see. Anyway, take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.